Hello, ladies and gentlemen, Cone Dodger here, and welcome back to Automation, the Car Company Tycoon game. Today we are in 1962 in our Lite campaign playthrough. We've just designed the Valor, which will be going into production in 1964. And the Valor is, if we load it up here, and we don't do that. Instead, we hit revise car and we go back, not forward. We can see that it is a small sedan pony car style. So it has two variants, a pony and a wagon. This should help fill in our mid segment for the 60s. It will help get buyers in as we are basically going to be canceling the Truffle, our existing big brute seller, the utility wagon. And unfortunately, in the scope of bodies at the moment, there is not enough 60s utility platforms for me to continue the Truffle at the moment. I spent some time messing around in the sandbox trying to figure out what the next logical step would be. And I think I've come to a conclusion with that. But before we get there, we need to advance through history a little bit here. I guess we're advancing into the future because it's 1962, right? Sure. The first thing we're going to do, we can see here that the Truffle is no longer turning a profit. Designed in 1947, it has definitely served its purpose. It made us $1.5 billion, which is not too shabby. And yeah, it's time. Nearly 500,000 sold. We will be canceling this vehicle. It is possible that I could go in and use that same chassis, that same body, to build a new updated version of the Truffle. However, that body is significantly outdated now and faces heavy penalties for being so. Instead of working with that restriction, I would rather push our company and keep moving forward, especially as we head through the 60s here. If we look at the economy, things are on the upswing. Nothing is terribly down. Yeah, I mean, there's this little bobble, but it's nothing like, if you remember the last Lite campaign we did, we were dipping down into the 0.25 economic strength there. So, yeah, things are certainly not terrible at the moment. The normal category will fit the, what was it called? The Valor very well. And the next car I want to build, I think, will be more towards the premium category, which I'm just kind of hedging my bets here, should come around by the time that car is in production. It's gonna be a while though. The early 60s didn't have anything too interesting for me to make, so I am going to wait until 1965 to produce another vehicle. So it's going to be a matter of keeping the ankle around, the small coupe and convertible from the 50s, keeping that around, making as much money as possible, and then having that end probably in 1965 or 66 as we design the new vehicle. So let's sell this Truffle off for scrap because we're not selling any more of those, I don't think. Well, let's see. I'll give it a year and see if those sell off. It's been canceled in production. We'll see if we can sell off the 2700 in stock. And let's adjust the ankle real quick. Let's see here. That's pretty close to ideal at the moment. And yeah, this may bounce around as we go through the future. But let's go ahead and do that. Let's go to 1963. All right, a year summary here. We made a profit this year despite engineering a car, so that is good. We sold 86,000 cars. The ankle is not nearly as big of a seller as the Truffle was for sure. Let's go ahead and pause. We are still gaining prestige and marginally losing reputation. We still have not made a vehicle that is overtly very reliable, I believe. Not enough to offset that. But that's not too much of a worry for me. The Truffle, I think, sold off everything. We have some extra engines, so we'll sell that off for scrap. Get a few $1,000s out of it. The ankle looks like it needs a little adjustment once again. Yep, the coupe not selling particularly well, so we'll just knock down the bark up a little bit. Did I say bark up? I think I might have. And yeah, that should help sales through the year. Keep the production numbers up. We'll just sell them at a little bit less of a profit. We're still making a profit. Not a huge one, but we're still making a profit. All right, in the end of 1963, another small profit year. Again, very good for having a car in engineering. That is encouraging. That means our company is, self-sustaining at this point. We don't need to hold back on engineering more cars. I would love to be dual engineering cars right now, but like I said, I just didn't have anything personally that I wanted to build in these years, so I'm holding off. We will pause here. Let's take a look at the economy. All right, normal looks like it's flattening. It looks like everything's flattening. Flattening is good. If we stop here and start to upswing from here, that would be great. Commercial is again on the upswing, but gosh, I tried to build some commercial vehicles and I was not having a good time with it. I was having a very sad time with it, in fact. So that's just not going to happen for us right now. I actually built quite a few 60s cars. I was extremely sick over the last couple of weeks there. So that's why this series has taken so long to keep continuing. But yeah, I just spent a lot of time trying to build cars. And I actually ended up having some discussions with the developers just because it seems like in this era, the car selection is so small. There's a very narrow band of cars you can make and be successful with, and I would love for that to not be the case. I would love to be able to produce, a large variety of cars every year, because that gives the game replayability. You don't have to build the same things every time. That was, they're certainly working on that. They've been ordering bodies left and right to try and fulfill the game, so that kind of stuff will get better in the future. This is, again, the Lite campaign, just the test bed. I'm looking at the research and development page because I feel like it's time to throw some money into something here. So what is it that I would most like to improve upon? I think, well, we're getting mechanical injection in 64. Hyperneumatic shocks, I think? Yeah, hyperneumatic shocks in 65, 2-piston brakes in 65, alloy wheels not till the 70s, injection, regular electronic fuel injection in 68, I believe, straight through exhaust in, straight through mufflers, okay, that makes more sense, in 68, I-beam steel in 67, not too worried about that. I think what I'm going to put funding into is on fuel system, and I might do a double click on that. 500,000 per year, I believe, is what that means. 500,000 is not. Oh, that's monthly funding. Yeesh. But we're still, even on, say, the ankle, making more than that per month. So 500,000 isn't terrible, and I think this is really going to help our company excel in the 60s and the 70s, especially. Once we hit the 70s and fuel restrictions start to hit, we're going to want this to be in as good a shape as possible. So that's what we'll do. Familiarity. Not overly familiar with anything awesome. We're getting pretty familiar now with the direct acting overhead cam on cast iron heads, which is good, but we're going to need to start to move away from cast iron here eventually as well. Alright, enough stalling. Let's get to 1965 so that we can start producing our next car. However, we need to stop in December, or we'll stop in November and review the Valor and make sure it's ready to go. Alright, November, and wow, the ankle just took off in sales. Absolutely took off. I guess the convertible has gotten very popular again. Interesting. Let's actually just adjust the split here a bit. And I think we're going to keep knocking down the markup of the coupe. It's interesting there. You see, I'm knocking down the price on this, and it actually hurts the demand, I believe, of the convertible, because they do sort of compete with each other. But I think we're getting down there in the markups now. So let's actually just start producing less of them and selling them for more, or the same, really. Okay, so now what we really wanted to look at was the Valor. And, okay, good thing I looked at it. At max shifts, producing as many as we can, not producing enough. So, potentially mark it up more. Okay, it did the weird thing again. Okay, so basically, until you make a change in this markup, these numbers aren't right. So, actually, we're in pretty good shape right now. 29% markup all the way through. That will be just fine. Demand just outpacing production. So let's actually go to 30 on both, just so that we have an inventory of them. So we can really see how it's doing. We're only going to get a month of seeing how it's doing before the end of the review, but it's better than nothing. Alright. So this year we did actually lose a little bit of money. Of course, we're now spending money on R&D. And we're still above the watermark. We're still above what we started with. So I'm not too concerned. Let's see, we have no stock on anything at the moment. So even this guy is starting to sell better, which leads me to believe the economy is probably turning around a little bit. Alright, let's look at the Valor in that 1 month. And it seems as though the wagon is currently having the most demand. So we'll rebalance these guys and maybe go up to 31%. Alright, so it's January 1st, 1965. That means that we can start on the development of a new car. And I believe it is high time, 1965, give or take 3 years to get this car in production. It is high time to make an actual full-blown muscle car, because if we are any later, it's going to be getting into the 70s, and who the hell knows what might happen in the 70s with the economy. So let's try and make sure this happens in the 60s. So we want a coupe. I chose sedan. We want a coupe, and this is kind of the obvious muscle car body choice for the 60s. And let's see what we can do with it. I'm not going to lie, this is probably one of my least favorite bodies in the game. When I think muscle car, this is not the body shape that I desire, to be honest. But we're going to do the best we can with it. Let's look at the chassis here first. We are producing monocoque chassis at the moment, so let's stay in that field. I think that's right for this car. We'll stay with steel-bodied and longitudinal engine, of course. Double wishbone. Let's do it front and rear. We have familiarity in that, so it shouldn't be too terrible for engineering time, despite having very high engineering time. And a steel body as well. We're getting so familiar on this stuff that we're able to get away with a little bit more now. Let's also give it some big fender arches. We want as much tire on this thing as possible. That should give us plenty of room. And for the fixtures, well, let me see what I can do. You know what I could really use for this era of car design is a grille like this one, but without the rounded edges. Alright, not too complicated, pretty simple in design. Like I said, not honestly my favorite body in the world, so I wasn't overly inspired on this one. But moving right along, we will be making it not that awful red color. That helps it a bunch. In the maroon, it will be rear-wheel drive, not 4x4 or front-wheel drive. Gosh, that would be something longitudinal. It would be like a Tornado. Yeah. Let's not go there. Moving right along, an engine. So we're going to be talking large displacement V8. That is very important for this category. In fact, the stats actually look for exactly that. So we'll see how big of a V8 we can make. We've been restricted in this in the past due to the bore restriction of not being able to rev it high enough. So let's see if we can get like a 5 point, maybe 5.8. We will see. Cast iron, cast iron, cast iron, because right now we don't really, I think, need to forge stuff because we're not going to be making that much torque and we're not going to be revving that high. I would say somewhere in the high 300 horsepower range is plenty for this car. So let's see if we can do just that. Let's go pretty aggressive on cam. Let's go with, yeah. Naturally aspirated, carbureted. I thought we had injection available now. Maybe not because we haven't put any R&D into that. I don't know. But how about twin 2-barrel? That's 344 horsepower versus a single 4-barrel is the same. Triples is 516. Probably don't need that. Let's do performance, and we're gonna do super leaded because the buyers should be okay with that. And we'll run it pretty rich. Let's 5400 is probably about the most we're gonna be able to rev it up. 430 would be plenty. Dual exhaust, I think, is a sportier option, so it might score better there. 362 is good. A reverse flow, is that the better one? Airflow average, airflow, yes, that is the better one. And initial build, 351 foot-pounds, I think? Yeah, 319 horsepower. Those are good numbers, and 10% economy is actually pretty good, but I'm sure we can tune on it to make it better. Torque limit is reached a little bit, and then RPM limit is reached a little bit as well. I don't know if you guys have checked out the recent developer update for automation, but look at how much different this stuff is going to become, and the detailed stats page. It's going to be so much clearer and so much more obvious to understand which parts you're having issues with in the future. I think it's going to be really great for everybody. And let's see here. Valve float, so a little less RPM because we're not making power up there. Anywho, and compression. We can go all the way to 9.5 to 1 on compression. We will be having some torque limit issues there, but reliability is still a 31 is not something I'm really concerned about. So I think we could maybe do a little bit better with some tuning, so let me work on it. You know, I'm currently having 0 valve float issues and more bottom end issues. I wonder if changing the squareness of the engine would help, shortening up the stroke a little reduces the power. However, we're not having RPM related issues. Shortening the stroke will change the RPM related issues, but not so much the torque related issues. At least that's what I'm seeing. Again, now I'm at 39.4. That is more than good enough, I think, for reliability for this category especially. So let's roll with that. 10.78 on economy. And if I need to come back and make more power, we can. It has it in it, but I think we're at good, safe numbers right now. Alright, so we have a basic body. We have ourselves a base engine. Let's start trimming this thing out, and I guess it's time to figure out what we're gonna call this car. So I need to go stroll through the comments on the last video to try and get inspired. Alright, looking through the comments on the last video, and I think I've chosen a name, and I'm gonna pronounce it my own way. It's probably not the way that this person would pronounce it, but it's the Roscoxa. Roscoxa. So that will be our muscle car, and seeing how the muscle cars stuck around for quite a while, and some of them, you know, were produced for 40 or, you know, never stopped getting produced, this name could be sticking around a while, so congratulations to you. And this will be the base muscle version. I may make two. It depends on how this one does in categories. But we do need to trim it out first. And I think 4-speed manual will be the way to go. Probably going to space it to get 60 in second. And I'll look at the lockers later. That may be something we look at. Definitely sports compounds. Probably 14s. We'll need to increase those. Might even run some stagger in that thing. Very possible. Don't like him. Don't really like him. Yeah, that's the fit. Steel, and for brakes, we now have 2 piston calipers, so that's nice. We'll need still a lot of brakes in this thing, though. We'll make sure that the rears are a little tamer than the fronts. None. We have way more cooling than necessary. But we'll make sure it has good, reliable cooling, because this thing might be track-worthy or such. 2 seats, I think, is the option that we want. Muscle buyers like some luxury, so we'll do sport and premium here. Possibly power steering as well, and just standard safety. Standard springs, twin tube passive, and that's encouraging. We already have a positive score of above 100, but we can likely do far better than that once we sport this thing up a little. We'll have to give it its ride height back. The sport ride height is definitely too low by default. That is one thing that really tripped me up for a while. But there we go, that is better. And now we're at 111. So let's see if we can get that thing a little bit sportier. It's extremely drivable right now. We're going to want more damper up front. We're going to want a little bit more spring. Probably not, I guess. It's still massively understeery. This thing does have stagger in it. We could potentially get rid of the stagger. And it makes it a very different car for sure. It makes it much sportier, a little bit less drivable. But I think that's the way to go. So let's go back to the suspension. And let's see if we can get this right in between red and blue. I managed to get pretty close. It's a very interesting category of car because handling isn't as super important, and you actually don't want to sacrifice its ability to launch, like its ability to gain speed, for the aspect of handling, because that will hurt it in the actual muscle category. So let's look at our total scores here. Looking pretty good. 8.4 miles per gallon. Man, that's far too good. We're gonna have to tune out. Let's look at the gearing first. That's pretty close. I don't see any major issues there. 35% wheel spin is a major issue. Automatic locker gets rid of a little bit of it. Doesn't actually help the scores at all, though, because it makes it less drivable. No, it doesn't make it less drivable, it just makes it less comfortable. Interesting. Well, can we fix it with spacing a little bit? Well, you know, we can make it wheel spin less, but it actually makes it overall slower. So that is not what we need and not what we want. We have as much rear tire as we could possibly put into it. Front brakes are still not performing up to our desired amount. Let's see. It's pretty balanced to the rear right now, so getting rid of some rear brake would probably actually help it. Yeah, that actually helped it pretty significantly. I would love to get the front brakes performing a little bit better, though. Interestingly, going up to a 100 race pad in the front was the best option. We could throw quality at this. Makes it more expensive, but it makes the brakes perform better overall. But pretty much no net gain there due to the increase in price. I did put a lip on the rear that we could technically do away with. However, it's actually not, it's not hating having it on there. It gives it just a little bit of stability at high speed, so I think we'll probably just keep it. Yep, messing around with the interior stuff. They do really like the premium AM radio. They really love the record player, but the cost is not worth it, and extremely limited production would not be good. Power steering. Yep, they do enjoy the power steering as well. Standard versus premium interior. Yep, once again. Could make it cheaper, but they prefer the sport. I would prefer to have this stay above like 110 so that we can mark it up and still have above 100. Which is what I need to look at next. Go to the markets, and let's see here. Sports above 100, muscle's above 100. Muscle premium is not. Pony is, and family sport premium is. So a good amount of categories there. And we want, at minimum, 15% markup. And with 15% markup, we still have 104 in sport, and 112 in muscle, and 101 in family sport. So that is good news. Muscle premium, I question what we would need to do for muscle premium. So they have a 45,000 budget with a plus or minus of 18,000. The prestige is an 80% weighting on that. Could try to make one with like the crazy options and see if it does better in that. This body is considered to be too old already for this, which is nuts. Like, is there a body available for this class? Probably not, to be honest. Yeah, let me make a copy of this car, which I'm pretty happy with right now, and just see if we could have it stretch some other categories. Alright, so I am trying to build this premium muscle version, so I'm looking through here at the prestige to see where we could get some value here, and honestly, not a ton. Wheels a little bit, the rims a little bit. Wait, are those not the same thing? Chassis stiffness. Is there really much I could do about chassis stiffness? Not without affecting the other model too. Gearbox, entertainment quality. So, of all of that, really the only thing we could do is magnesium wheels, which it does increase it. It goes to 88.4. But a lot of this will add to engineering time. So I'm thinking that the option of making a version that is a premium muscle is not for me. Not for this car right now. The other option is to look at the sedan body of this. So same exact car right now, except that it is the sedan version. And let's go to the markets and let's look at family sport premium. And let's look at could I get just family sport in there? No. Doesn't seem like it. Doesn't seem like that's gonna work. Now I have this thing still all fancied up, so let's unfancy it and see. Oh, that one's, it says it's completely irrelevant. What do I have chosen? Who knows? Nothing, maybe. Let's look at, I suppose we'll just look at family premium too. So here's an interesting balance thing that I think might be a little screwy, and that is in the family sport and family premium, going from 2 seats to 4 seats always significantly hurts your score. That, to me, doesn't make a whole hell of a lot of sense. So that might be something a little screwy within the game's balance at the moment. So we'll pretend that it has 4 seats, but the scores want us to have 2 seats. Let's see here. Gosh, I really don't think that even this one is super necessary. I hate to say it, especially for a prolific channel follower, Less Cubes, who thinks 4-door muscle cars are extremely relevant. I unfortunately don't think it's too relevant to our company right now. So I'm just gonna roll with the coupe. That's the only one I'm gonna make. Alright, and if we look at the coupe here, let's see. Currently 3 years, 4 months on the chassis, 2 years, 2 months on the engine. So the engine is no problem at all. The chassis itself takes the most time. We have good section familiarity there, 14%. But the drivetrain stuff, I feel like we're doing a lot more similar stuff with drivetrain than we are chassis. But that will be changing in the future here. So let's do full funding on the chassis. However, we can't actually get the years down, can we? Not even a little bit. From 3 years, 3 months to 3 years, 3 months. So it doesn't make a lot of sense to pour money into that if we're not going to get any more time out of it. But we could probably get more reliability and less time. Yeah, there we go. That's where it becomes worth it. So let's do that. Let's do the most reliability we can. And then we can save money on the engines because we can hire myself, which will save us on time. So we can save ourselves in money there, and we can have this thing max reliability and still have it engineered in the same amount of time. That is good news. Alright, so the truffle's been canceled. That is a medium and small factory, however. The Valor, I believe, is a medium, and we can probably assign this to that and still have plenty of room to produce both. The Ankle is currently being produced in its own medium factory using the small one from the Truffle, I believe. That is interesting. We'll see what production numbers look like. We could potentially, I believe, put a larger factory on this property for it, which I may do, because I have a feeling we're going to be making a buttload of these. So I'm going to spend the money to increase the factory size on them. So as of right now, we'd be making 221 cars per day, I think. Per month? Per day. Per day? I believe per day. And that's higher than the other numbers for sure. Production units, yes, all of that. Let's make sure we match this to the car. Did it? Yeah, engines 221, require 221. All right. Let's look at the numbers. Still good here. Actually, we're even better than expected. So 121, 107, and 113. And the affordability on all of those is very good. It's actually scoring really well in Muscle Premium, even though it's not saying it. Sport Budget as well. Might get some Premium Budget, which I believe is a category that's going away because that's just weird, isn't it? Family Sport. Yeah, there's a bunch of other categories this thing could sell in. And demand currently is a 1.3 to 1 with the 15% markup. Personally, I'm hoping that improves and that will get even better with time. But I think I'd rather make more of them than sell them at a higher price. So let's do that. Because that's really going to increase our company's prestige moving forward. And as of right now, our break-even would be $3,1970 on a car that wouldn't start production until May of 1968. So from May of 1968 to March of 1970 to break even on it, that is very good. And again, I think that's going to improve. As long as the economy plays nice with us, and we really need to hope that it does, I think we're going to be in good shape here. I'm going to, because all this can be adjusted before we start to make it, let's do it. It's been done. So there we go. The, what did I call it? Rose Coxa will be produced in 1968. The year is now 1965. All right, and for the sake of just seeing how things are going, let's go ahead and forward another year. Let's see how the Valor does. Let's see how the Ankle continues to do. And we'll see what the economy is up to. Valor is selling out. All right, stop. Both of these have sold out. So, yes, sellouts. So we probably need to increase space markup here. 10 years on, little Ankle is still selling away. All right, Ankle. We need more of you, I guess. Wait a second. Are we making any of these? Are we selling any of these? I don't think we're selling any of these anymore. It still says production. I'll have to look back on the video to see if that went up. I could have messed something up, and we're not making the ankle anymore. We have no engines. I could have messed something up. It's not hurting because we're not losing money on it, but we could be only producing the Valor at the moment. That's a possibility. I'll have to look into that, and maybe you guys noticed it yourselves. But overall, the Valor is doing quite well. Economy. Oh, look at that upswing. Oh yeah, this muscle car. As long as this upswing is peaking right when this thing goes in production, we are going to be in the money. All right. Well, I think that will about do it for today. I'll have to figure out what's going on with the ankle, and we'll pick up there next time here in Automation, where hopefully it won't be another month before I get to record an episode. Sorry for the delay.